Well, welcome everyone back to another episode of Sheroes Unlimited. I'm Jaynie Morris, founder and creator of fun at BoomerBabesLife, and it's great to have your company once again. For those of you who've seen our previous episodes of Sheroes Unlimited, we like to chat to women around the world who are doing extraordinary things that you may not have heard about, and also dig a little deeper and get to know them so that we can actually share and inspire and celebrate these amazing women. I'm always thrilled to interview Sheroes. However, today is a little bit more. She and I have been talking off air about the reason why, so I'm going to share it with you now. I am obsessed with hiking. I absolutely love it. And my love of hiking was born in the beautiful country of New Zealand in 2004. So it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you, Angelika Pastoors, to Sheroes Unlimited.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me.
Now, whereabouts in the beautiful country of New Zealand are you right now?
I'm based in Christchurch, and I actually arrived in New Zealand and decided that Christchurch will be my base.
What year was that? Did you arrive in New Zealand?
And professionally in 1995. But the first time I visited New Zealand was in 1988, and then in 1989, and then in 1992, and then I came back for my job in 1995.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that because Angelika is the founder and absolute lover of her business, SideTracks Women in New Zealand. Now, before we get into the interview, our Sheroes Unlimited interview, I want to bring your attention to the July issue, July 2020 of BoomerBabesLife Magazine. There is a fantastic interview with Angelika there, and we would love you to read that, check that out. There's lots of information about SideTracks Women in there, but I just wanted to give a little plug for that because we're not going to talk too much about that. We're going to talk more about you in there. So, Angelika, SideTracks Women, you started this how long ago?
In the company in 2001.
Right.
Before I started the company, I was working in New Zealand already for 5 years as a tour guide. And I got to two different points. One was that I thought, how can I keep my head busy? If you do the same thing and same thing and same thing, it's kind of not a challenge anymore. And I have been running a tour company already previous in Germany, where I originate from. And that was one reason. And the other reason was I learned more and more and more about this country. And it simply felt like the existing 2 trips I guided wasn't enough to show the fascinating places of this country. So I wanted to plan tours myself and take people to the places which are so amazing.
So where do you get your passion for what you do? Did you as you mentioned, you originally from Germany, so as a child growing up, did you do lots of hikes? How's that all come about?
Not at all. I grew up on a farm, which is very different to farming in New Zealand or farming in Austria. Farming in Germany, those years were fight for survival. So we all learned, me and my siblings, we all learned to work very early and work very hard. And I never ever mind working hard. And after I wanted to become a car mechanic, and then I decided to become a nurse, and then I decided, no, that's all not what I want. I actually studied and became a social worker. And my intention was to work with elderly people to develop something alternative to rest homes, which I found awful. And I was a little bit late, and that was during my university time. I got involved during an internship with an organization which organized trips for young people between 14 and 28. And I never could imagine to work with young people. But on my very first trip, I was sitting in the co-pilot seat beside the bus driver. And I thought, I want to learn to drive a bus. And that was actually the driving force behind everything. I was still too young to get my bus driver's license. And when I reached to the legal age, I actually was one of the first female coach driver in Europe. There were a school bus driver, but no coach driver. And I just loved that. And that started everything. And then when I finished my university and had my degree, I started up a tour company with friends in Germany. And that was extremely exciting times because it was very special. We worked for international music and dancing team as a 23, 24-year-old. I've been touring in Europe with monks from Tunisia. I've been with puppet player from South India. I've been on tour with people from Congo and with theater groups from Cuba. And that was extremely exciting. And I have been working in my tour company in Germany for 14 years. And then it had grown too big. It was simply too big and I didn't like it anymore. And I decided, okay, time have come to do something different. And that is when I thought, what can I do? And I didn't have a lot of money because we had an absolutely exciting company and exciting job, but our income wasn't so exciting. So I thought I need to be paid for going somewhere. And then I thought, okay, why not applying for a tour guide job? And I could choose between 3 different companies which had offered me a job. And one offered me New Zealand. And because I've been living on the Cook Islands once for 7 months, I thought, okay, New Zealand is very close to New Zealand. So I choose that company to work for. And that is how I started my tour guide life over here in New Zealand.
How did you, when you started as an actual tour guide, how did you find that? What did you have to learn in order to be really good as a tour guide so that you kept your job?
The first thing is, that's not a learning thing. I think you have to bring with you have to love people. Absolutely, because you can't choose who is on your tour. So you're better very generous in liking people, invest as you love people. The second thing is because always tours I have been doing were small groups and they were always nature focused and activity focused. So I never have been a tour guide on a huge coach just behind the microphone. So the very first thing I had to learn was about nature in New Zealand. And that was a very, very hard thing because those days there were hardly any nature guide out there. So I took photos. And after my tour season, I went to a library and compared my photos with books in the library to identify what the plants were. And for at least 4 or 5 years, I never ever went on a single trip without having an identification book with me. And my aim was to learn 3 new plants each trip I'm on, be it 2.5 hours or be it 3 days. So, yeah, because we were nature-based and nature-focused, that was the most important. And since then, and that is really ongoing since 1995, it's reading, and in particular, stuff which is not written in travel books, because, you know, everyone can just grab a tour guide and read what's in there. You know, you need to know the stories behind, you know, and, or like, you know, what is Christmas like in New Zealand, or how is it to come into a country as an immigrant, or how, or yeah, just stuff like that, which is connected to life over here.
I love how you've explained so well here, something that we always have in conversations with all of our Boomer Babes, at Boomer Babes Life, is that the can-do attitude. Like you've found something in life that's actually your passion. It's what you want to do, and you want to actually work in your passion. But then you've found a way also to become learned by, you found an issue. The issue was nature. You needed to understand and learn everything about. So you've spent all of that time in the libraries, and then taking that to match up photographs and what have you, so that you can learn, rather than going, oh, I can't do this, or I don't know that, so I'm not going to be any good. That's a brilliant part of your character that's coming through so well in our conversation. I'm loving this, and this would be so important when you're taking your tours in New Zealand as well, because I bet you said before, you can't always pick who's coming on the tour. Of course, I'm sure you've had some really great people and some really interesting people, shall we say?
Yeah, so nicely said. Challenging, I would call them.
So you've got to all of this stage, and then so you've started SideTracks Women. Tell us what SideTracks Women, your business, is all about.
Yeah, I actually started SideTracks, and when I started off in 2001, I focused on the German-speaking market and offered tours for the German-speaking market. And since 2001, there were quite a number of challenging times here in New Zealand. A huge one was, for example, our earthquakes, where I not only lost my house, but also lost my, business was just broke for a season, because everyone thought New Zealand is collapsed and not Christchurch is collapsed. And the season after was really, really challenging. And I had to come up with some ideas. And that was a year that I also started tours for Kiwis and Australians in Germany. And now it's another very challenging time, with COVID and all our borders closed. And so more often than once, I had to adjust to life circumstances, let's put it that way. And traveling with women, being a tour guide for almost 35 years, 25 of that in New Zealand, I really learned that often needs of women are different than needs of guys. And one very easy one, it seems to be almost in our genes that women are afraid, I don't want to be the one holding other ones up. I don't want to be the slowest one. I certainly can't cope, and so on. That is just one thing. And women are so much more relaxed if they are just in a women group. It doesn't matter if you're a little bit slower, if it takes a little bit more time. And guys have already physically a huge advantage. They have far longer legs. They make bigger steps. They are just faster. And more often it's about this, it says, it's a 7-hour trek. Let's try if we make it in 6. But that is not what matters. What matters is that we enjoy every single minute on the trek, and not if we make it in a certain time. And to be very honest, I think I just followed my gut's feeling and asked myself, what is so important for me if I'm out there? And my own frustration that when I'm outside of the season, that I felt like I want to go hiking, but it's not fun doing it on my own, or it's too risky doing it on my own, or whom do I go with? But there was no one around. And maybe it's a bit cheeky, but actually I do this to have enough women that I have a reason to go. And I just absolutely love it. And I think it's so relaxed to go and be on tour with women. And I think it's not, you can't say it's for 100%, but they love the little tiny detailed things. And that is what I find important, not only look for the big ones, but also for the tiny little things in life which matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you're absolutely right too. The girls like to go and do it on their own, you know, like the boys get a bit competitive, really, don't they? It's just like,
Yeah.
you just made me remember of when I mentioned at the beginning of the interview where my New Zealand, I've been several times, mostly for business, and in 2004, in fact, it was 2 weeks before the massive tsunami, the devastating tsunami that hit. And I was over in New Zealand. I went there specifically for a 7-day hike on Milford Sound hike. And that was the moment that I really, truly fell in love with New Zealand for so many reasons, not least of which was the fact that in those 7 days, on every day hike, like you mentioned before, is that every day was different. All the scenery, it was like I was going to a different country every day. And I think that's one of the magical things about New Zealand. Would you agree?
I think you are absolutely right saying New Zealand is magical, and hardly anyone can believe if I tell them that I'm guiding now for 25 years and I'm not aiming to retire soon. But when I retire, I intend to travel through New Zealand for a year or two to discover all the corners and little bits and places I haven't been to, and going back to all the places I love. This country is just enormous.
You are so lucky. If I have said to my family on several occasions that they better behave themselves, otherwise I'm packing my bags and moving to New Zealand. And it's interesting, my eldest son is currently planning on moving to New Zealand permanently because he loves it. So you do live in, even though I'm an Australian and I do love Australia, I'm a very proud Australian, I must say you do live in a beautiful country of the world, that's for sure. You are very lucky. Now, of course, at the time of us chatting right now, the borders are closed and we can't get into your beautiful country. It's being well protected. So as far as SideTracks Women is concerned, you are operational, but only for women in New Zealand at the moment, aren't you?
At the moment, only for women in New Zealand. And of course, that made us all thinking about the situation. And I've been in contact to women from Australia, and they said, what shall we do? And I said, just let us know about your intention. And we actually put a very low risk policy in place. So if we know someone is interested, the women should let us know. And we are absolutely happy to be flexible about changing dates, and we don't have huge cancellation fees or whatever, and because we are all kind on nervous waiting what's going to happen with our borders.
Now, give us a little bit of an insight of coming, because you do hiking tours, you do cycling tours, you do kayaking.
Yeah, we combine with 2 of our tours. We have an extra kayak bonus, I would call it. And very soon we also will come up with a wild thing we call it then Women Adventure. That's really, really off the beaten. It would be even for New Zealanders very off the beaten. And I think hardly any Kiwi has been there. I've been there a couple of times. That will be down south in Fiordland. And that tour is coming up very soon. But for the coming up season, we concentrate on hiking tours and on cycling tours. And very, very special about the hiking tours is it's all on private land. So private landowners share their paradises with us. And that also means there are maximum 12 people on the track per day. So we have the whole country and area we are walking in just to ourselves.
Now that leads me to my logistical questions then. What's the maximum of each group? So
10.
10? Right.
Yeah, minimum for the hiking is 4, and for the cycle tours is 5.
Right.
And maximum is 10. And that's also important. I don't want to have bigger groups, because one thing what is certainly different than with other tour companies, we don't stay in hotels if we can avoid it. I spend hours and hours and hours to search for charming accommodation. And I prefer always to have a holiday house or a house, you know, where we really have a great room to sit together. And the guide will be also the chef, so with a little bit of assistance of my guests. So we will mainly have delicious, healthy, self-made food. And that is certainly 2 points of difference to other tour operators.
And I was just going to say, that's sounding very, very tempting, because I can imagine after you've done a 7 or 8 hour day, if you're out hiking, the last thing you want to be doing is sleeping in a swag on the side of the road,
Yeah.
And not having any food,
Yeah.
or like a little sandwich or something.
There will be a delicious drink first, and then there will be delicious healthy food. And with the hiking tracks, we only carry our day packs. Our main luggage will be transported, so it's very relaxing walking.
Well, that's even better. I can see I'm signing up for every one of them now, as is most of our audiences as well. Now, Angelica, before I let you go, just wanted to then ask you, as soon as the borders do open up, you are going to be inundated, because the world is looking at New Zealand of how well you have, as a country, got through this this unprecedented times with COVID-19. Yeah. So it's very important for our viewers and our listeners right now to make sure that they get to SideTracks Women.co.nz. Am I right?
Yeah.
Excellent. To check out all of the tours and everything that you've got. Also, we'd like to thank you so much, because Angelica is giving us a special discount just for Boomer Babes people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a woman over 50 in the Boomer Babes Life community, that's it. All you need to do is, when you book your tour, you will receive a $50 discount from your tour price. And that's with a code. So that's BoomerBabes50, isn't it?
Correct.
Excellent.
Correct.
Excellent. Now that discount, that very special discount, is for any tours from the 17th of October 2020 through to the 25th of April 2021.
That is the whole coming up season.
Excellent. And that means that I jump in with my big birthday trip over there.
Yeah.
Of course, it's all about me and the girls at Boomer Babes Life coming over.
We will have an extra glass of bubble that day.
We will indeed. And I also would like to, Angelica doesn't know this, but I'm going to announce it now. At Boomer Babes Life, for all of our viewers and our listeners, please make sure that you subscribe, because we're going to make an announcement. We are putting together 2 tours of Boomer Babes Life Women, being led by Angelica, that are going to happen in that period of time that we just said, pending the borders being open. We're going to bring over Boomer Babes Life Women. Now, we are going to be giving away one of these tours as well as an extra special incentive. So all of that promotion is going to be coming up very shortly, so make sure that you keep in touch with us. But Angelica, for today, I'd like to say thank you so much for being on this Sheroes Unlimited interview.
Completely on me to say thank you, and to meet you and the other Boomer Babes.
We are we're so excited to have you as a honorary Boomer Babe as well, as far as our ambassadorship is concerned. Look, if you would like to find out more about SideTracks Women, all you need to do is go to the July 2020 issue of BoomerBabesLife Magazine. There's a fantastic article there on Angelika. It's got all the information about all of the tours, and it's also got all of the contact details there as well for all of the social media as well as the website. And don't forget that extra special code BoomerBabes50 when you do book your tours to go with Angelika and her incredible team. She is backed by an amazing team at SideTracks Women. All of those details are below what you're watching or listening on your favorite device right now. You will see everything that we've just discussed about discounts, tours, contact details, how to book your trip below this Sheroes Unlimited podcast. And remember, if you've enjoyed this podcast with our very special guest Angelika Pastoors on Sheroes Unlimited, check out all the other ones as well. Just go to our website, BoomerBabesLife.com. Go to Sheroes Unlimited. You'll see them all there. Check them all out and be inspired. Celebrate yourself, because as a woman over 50, that's what we're here for. Angelika, thank you so much. We'll see you in New Zealand very soon.
Thank you. Hopefully. Thank you very much.